Sir, please state your name.
Harshul Gupta.
Counsel, please, in your appearance.
Morning, Honor. Ben Pallone on behalf of Mr. Gupta.
All right, Mr. Gupta, you've been charged with fleeing, attempting to elude a police officer. I reviewed the affidavit and I do find probable cause. Did you want to make any argument as to the bond amount,
I
counsel?
did, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Mr. Gupta has lived with his parents in Lake County for the entirety of his life. He's 23 years old now. The only exception to that is the time that he spent in college at the University of South Florida. Prior to turning himself in, he was living 3 days a week with his parents in Mount Dora and 4 days a week in Tampa, where he was working as a research volunteer for the neurosurgery and brain repair department at USF. He also has a bachelor's in biomedical science from the Honors College at USF. As previously stated, his mother and his father are in Mount Dora. He does have a brother in Davie as well. He has no prior criminal history, and as soon as he found out about this warrant, he went to turn himself in on November 12th. However, because there was an issue with the date of birth on the warrant being wrong, they would not take him at that time. So he immediately then, once the issue was fixed, turned himself in, and based on that, I would ask for a $1,000 bond in this case.
All right, State, did you want to be heard?
Your Honor, he is entitled to a bond, understanding that Mr. Gupta has no history. I would still ask for a bond higher than $1,000 just based on the offense. He was driving in speeds of excess of 100 miles an hour, Your Honor. And from what counsel has said, he does not live in the Central Florida area. It's between Tampa and Mount Dora. So I would ask for at least a $3,000 bond, Your Honor.
When I read it, I actually have my note here. I was going to set bond in the amount of $5,000 based on the facts and circumstances and the racing prior to the fleeing and eluding. So I'm going to leave it at $5,000.
Understood, Your Honor.
All right,
Thank you, Judge.
thank you. You know better with all those brains. Let me get the interpreter on.
Good morning, Your Honor. This is Laura Bretaña, certified Spanish interpreter, previously sworn.
All right, the defendant has on the headset. If you can make contact, please.
Sí.
There is contact, Your Honor.
All right, sir, please state your name.
Pablo I. Lopez Perez.
Pablo I. Lopez Perez.
All right, Mr. Lopez. Did you want to be represented by the public defender in this case? I don't see that you filled out a form.
Lo que pasa es que como yo no entiendo mucho inglés, ella me hizo una pregunta y yo no le supe contestar y por eso es que no pude llenar el formulario.
What happens is that since I don't know English, she asked me some questions I didn't understand, and I didn't know what I had to write in the
Okay, all right, no problem. We can do that. Please raise your right hand to be sworn in. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Sí.
Yes.
All right, sir, you can put down your hand. Do you have any dependents, any children, wife, spouse?
No.
Do you have any income, a regular source of income?
No.
No?
No.
All right, you do qualify for a public defender. I'll appoint the office of the public defender to represent you. You've been charged with operating a motor vehicle without a valid driver's license. The bond is $500, but you're still here, so did you want to resolve the case today?
Particular case for an ROR. So we can at least help him get his license. I don't want him to just plead because of.
Yeah, and it looks like he's eligible to get a license. He just hasn't done it.
Estoy en ese proceso ahorita. ¿Te puedo hablar a ti que estás aquí en el celular oyéndome?
May I say something? I'm working
would-
towards right now.
Just a second, sir. So, you're more than welcome to say something. However, I've appointed the public defender to represent you, and all of this is being recorded, and you might inadvertently admit to certain elements of the offense that you've been charged with, and the state can use that against you. So you may not want, it might not be in your best interest to say anything at this point in time. The public state, do you have any objection to an ROR?
No, Your Honor.
All right, I'm appointing the public defender to represent you. They have a program that might be able to help you get a valid license. So I'm going to,
My first time in this team. I'm so nervous.
Oh, it's
okay, it's okay. All right, we're gonna release you today on your own recognizance. You must stay in contact with the public defender's office. You're going to be getting another court date, and you have to stay in contact with your public defender before that court date. They're gonna need to talk to you and help you try to get your license.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. All right, follow the officer out the blue door, sir. All right, we have another one. All right, the defendant has on the headset. All right, and looks like I think the PD was already appointed, but she does qualify, so I'll appoint the public defender. All right, ma'am, you're here, the judge in your main case has issued a capias for your failure to appear and set bond in the amount of none. They're appointed now.
Sí, es que yo no vivo acá en Orlando, yo vivo en Nueva York. El día
Could you please advise I would advise the client not to speak about the facts of the case and why, I'm not gonna say that. Everything is being recorded, so I'm gonna provide a document with the attorney's phone number so she can, speak to the attorney in private about any issues she may have in the case.
Okay.
Okay.
And we have one more. All right, the defendant has on the headsets.
Sí,
There is contact, Your Honor.
Please state your name, sir.
Manuel Murillo.
All right, I'll appoint.
Manuel Murillo.
I'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You've been charged by a warrant, or you've been, warrants been issued for burglary of a dwelling wearing a face mask, possession of burglary tools, and criminal mischief. All right, state, any recommendation as to bond amount and conditions?
No, Your Honor, no.
All right, on the first count, I'm going to set bond in the amount of $5,000. Count two, I'm gonna set bond in the amount of $150. Count three, $100. I'm gonna require that you, oh, it was a conveyance, never mind. All right, no contact with the alleged victim. And I believe that's all we have for the Spanish interpreter. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Bye. All right, please state your name.
John Allen Nettles, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Nettles, you have two failure to appears in 2021 MM 4593AO. The judge set bond in the amount of $500. In 2022 MM 588AO, the judge set the amount none. And I will note in the 588 case, Dr. Arias has already been appointed. She was appointed back, or he, I'm not sure, on July 22nd. Do you have anything in your record, Ms. George? Was the eval ever done?
I'm not familiar with that, ma'am, because I had a stroke a few months ago. And I
Okay,
can't remember anything.
okay.
You see, I'm paralyzed as far as but there's no
Alright.
excuse for missing court because I could have just as easy wrote it down. I'm not trying to give you a bunch of excuses.
I understand, sir. I'm asking your attorney, I wanted your attorney to check the records to see if something was done real quick. And so you may not be aware of that, so I'm asking her just to verify that for me.
Yes, ma'am. Well,
If we have it, just give me a second, I'm pulling it up, right?
All right, just a second, Mr. Nettles, and I'm gonna ask you to please, refrain from, talking since you have an attorney. And I don't want you to inadvertently admit some element of the offense that can be used against you, you understand?
ma'am, I do.
Okay,
Your Honor, I saw where it was originally scheduled at the jail, but I don't see where one was actually completed.
all right, well, since Judge McGinnis in the 588 has set it at none, let's make sure we get Dr. Arias over here ASAP.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Nettles, please follow this gentleman out the blue door. There's two of them. Duckworth had 500 on mental health PTR, but.
You want me to stay?
Yeah, 500.
Or
Just put 500. And then in the other one, it's none, and we'll try to get Dr. Arias over for that eval.
Okay, and then I set him for his PTC date. I'm gonna set him.
Okay. All right, please state your name.
Costa?
Are you Mr. DaCosta?
Yes.
All right, sir. You do qualify for a public defender. I'll appoint the office of the public defender to represent you. And I had a question on this one. The charge is, sell, delivery of drug paraphernalia to a minor. Was the wrong, statute listed? I don't see in the affidavit anything about a minor.
I don't know where the minor came in, Your Honor. I believe it's just the paraphernalia.
Okay. All right, so I'll find probable cause on the sale, delivery of drug paraphernalia, the possession of cannabis greater than 20 grams, and possession of cannabis with intent to sell or deliver. And on count one, I'll set bond in the amount of 100, count two, 1,000, count three, 1,000. And then the bonds in the Osceola case, I can't look that up, so I don't know if it's been filed on or not.
No, Your Honor. Defendant was arrested August 25th. As of yet, no formal charges have been filed.
Okay, I'm not gonna take any action on the Osceola County cases. All right, please step forward and state your name.
Tiffany Holbrook.
All right. And, ma'am, did you want to be represented by the Office of the Public Defender in this proceeding?
Yes.
All right, please raise your right hand to be sworn in. Do you swear or affirm testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes.
You may put your hand down. Do you have any income?
All I have is an SSI. I get supplemental security income.
Social Security income?
Yeah, supplemental security.
Okay, all right, I'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. Did you want to waive reading?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'll find probable cause. I'm gonna set bond in the amount of $20,000 on count one and $150 on each of the remaining counts.
Your Honor, conditions?
Oh, I'm sorry, thank you, yes. The conditions is that you may have no contact with the victim or the victim's father, and that you have to comply with any parenting plan that the Department of Children and Family Services has implemented. If the DCF requires you to have contact with the victim's father, then you may do so in conjunction with the court proceeding, but not outside of any court or DCF proceeding.
Your Honor, can I also add no contact or no unsupervised contact with any minors?
Yes, and I'm also going to require that you not have any unsupervised contact with any minor. Please follow the officer out the blue door. Please step forward and state your name.
Jonathan,
All right, Mr. Sanchez, it says here that you do not qualify for a public defender. You get paid monthly, $2,500, is that correct?
Yeah, right. I have a consul, but I haven't talked to him. His name is Michael Gottlieb.
Okay,
He's out of Broward County. I've used him for I just haven't been able to reach out to anybody to actually know, what it is exactly what I'm gonna do.
all right, I do find probable cause on count 1, attempted second-degree murder, the bond is none. Count 2, $150, count 3, $150, count 4, $100.
Can I say
Your Honor?
something?
Your Honor,
Oh, it's not a PBL?
No, it's a first degree, but it's not a PBL. If he had succeeded, it then would have been a PBL.
Oh, because my notes say it was a PBL.
Or if you had a weapon and a firearm.
All right, recommendation?
I would start at least 50,000, Your Honor, especially based on his history. I believe he has been convicted of murder.
All right, on count 1, I'll set bond in the amount of $50,000. I'm gonna require that you have no contact with the alleged victim.
Yes, ma'am.
Please follow the officer
Thank you
out the
so
door.
much, ma'am.
Is this not what you signed up for, Judge?
All right, sir, if you'll please tell me your name.
Rodney Terrence Wilson.
All right, Mr. Wilson, this was a warrant signed by a judge. The probable cause was previously found. You've been charged with possession of meth and bond is at $1,000. Did you want to be represented by a public defender in this case?
Yeah.
All right, raise your right hand to the best of your ability. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you. You can put your hand down. Do you have any dependents?
No, ma'am.
Do you have any income?
Well, I've been working through a temp agency.
All right, and approximately on a monthly basis?
A little bit more than 1,000, maybe 1,100 a month.
A month? All right, you do qualify for a public defender, so I'll appoint the office of the public defender to represent you.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you, sir. Please follow the officer out the blue door.
Yana Marmora, bonded.
Okay.
Roberts is behavior.
All right, he does qualify for a public defender. I'll appoint the office of the public defender to represent him.
I'll waive the appearance, Your Honor.
All right, bond is stayed at $250 with the requirement of, that he's may not ride on the Lynx buses or go on Lynx property.
And Watson refused, Your Honor.
Okay, I'll provisionally appoint the public defender. I'll stay the bond at $500 and no contact with the victim case.
Yes, Your Honor, the offer from the state was an adjudication of guilt, credit time served, and court costs, and Mr. Durrell would like to accept and enter a plea of no contest.
And do you want me to unappoint you to save the 50?
I believe we were already
You
appointed.
were previously, okay. All right, Mr. Durrell, do you have any questions about the rights you're giving up in exchange for your plea?
No, ma'am.
Are you under the influence today of any drugs, alcohol, or medication that would impair your thinking?
No, ma'am.
Is anybody forcing you to enter into this plea agreement today?
No, ma'am.
Do you understand that if you're not a United States citizen, entering into this plea agreement will subject you to deportation?
Yes, ma'am.
Are you currently on probation for any other offense?
No, ma'am.
On the charge of disorderly conduct, how do you plead?
No contest.
I'll accept your plea of no contest. I'm going to adjudicate you guilty of the offense. I'm going to give you credit for time served of
18 days.
18 days. And I'm going to assess mandatory court costs, cost of prosecution, and the PD lien. As to the financial obligations, I'm going to give you 6 months to pay that off. If for any reason you can't pay it off within that time, report to the clerk's office to set up a pay. Oh, is he
He's
homeless?
transient, Your Honor.
I'll reduce it to civil judgment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Please follow the officer out the blue door.
Your Honor, Markland refused.
In this particular case, Your Honor, he does have an offer to resolve. Could we at least try for tomorrow? And if not, I'll waive the appearance.
Okay, we'll try him for tomorrow.
Beyond his behavior, Your Honor?
The same, Your Honor. There's an offer. If he doesn't appear tomorrow, then I will waive, but I'm going to try to speak to him
Okay,
as well.
please,
Bonded,
who? Bryant bonded, okay,
and Mitchell is PTR.
okay.
What does that mean?
Please state your name.
Nazar Adams.
All right, Miss Adams. You do qualify for a public defender. I'll appoint the office of the public defender to represent you. I'll stay the bonds, count 1, 5,000, count 2, 150, count 3, 1,000. And I'm gonna require that you have no contact with the, victim, the Lyft driver.
Your Honor, she does qualify for pretrial release. She has no history. If,
No, she doesn't.
I would ask for pretrial release in this particular case.
She doesn't qualify.
Oh, she doesn't. It was updated.
She was one of the updates where she did qualify.
I'm sorry, what?
She was one of the updated papers I provided to you where she qualified.
Oh,
Okay. Okay.
all right. State any objection to PTR?
No objection, Your Honor.
All right. I'll grant PTR. Please state your name.
Murphy Ulrich.
All right, Mr. Aldridge. All right, this is by a warrant, so a judge previously found probable cause. I'll stay the bonds. I'm gonna require that you have no contact with the victim or the victim's family, and that includes via social media. Did you, or any electronic means, did you want to be represented by the public defender's office?
Oh, ma'am. I was already arrested on this day. It's from an incident where I was pulled over in a car. I was charged with impersonating a police officer. They reduced it down to wrongful use of blue lights. I'd already posted bond on it. I said I'd never waive my speedy trial. I demanded my speedy trial. I had my David Bigney put in a demand for a speedy trial. We were ready for trial. The day before trial, they put these 2 new charges against me in a warrant form, consolidated that case with that. But I never waived my speedy trial for me getting pulled over for this.
Okay, you can address that all with the judge that's assigned to your case.
Okay.
Thank you. Please follow the officer out the door.
Wait, can we clarify then, because you mentioned David Bigney, does he have private counsel and therefore does not want?
Well, I had David Bigney on this case.
I didn't appoint the PD.
Oh,
He just said he didn't want a PD.
okay, thank you.
I do have private counsel. I can answer the question.
Okay,
Donna Atkinson is downtown court.
I will waive the appearance, Your Honor, because I believe he's just being seen on the grand theft.
just on, yeah, on the grand theft.
I will waive the appearance.
All right, so I'll appoint the PD and I'll stay the bond at 5,000. No contact with the victim. Please state your name.
Janelle Latoya Brewer.
All right, Ms. Brewer, you do qualify for a public defender, so I'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. I reviewed the affidavit. I do find probable cause. I'm gonna set bond in the amount of $7,500 on count 1, $150 on count 2, $150 on count 3, $100 on count 4. I'm gonna require that you have no contact with either of the victims. I'm gonna require that you not return to the Grand Reserve apartment complex and that you have no contact with co-defendant Ford. What is that? Oh, and no weapons or firearms. Thank you. Please state your name.
Waldemar Quintero.
Mr. Quintero, you do qualify for a public defender. I'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. I do see the defendant qualifies for PTR. Did you want to be released today under the PTR program? And do we need to wait 30 days for the first drug test?
Your Honor, he will prefer the monetary bond.
I thought so. $1,000.
Your Honor, Cartwright Gill bonded.
Okay. Please state your name. Mr. Donald, you do qualify for a public defender. I'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. All right, I'll find probable cause, I'll stay the bond in the amount of $1,000, and I'm gonna require that you not return to Barker Park at 2000 Monte Carlo Trail. And, all right, so in 2022 CF 6566AO, the defendant was released ROR because it hadn't been filed on. But then the state did file an information on November 2nd. So I'm going to revoke the ROR and I'll set bond in the amount of 1,000.
Thank you.
Oh, so on the, can we make them, is there a way for them to update their records before they leave jail?
What do you mean, Your Honor?
This defendant, to comply with the reporting requirements?
Usually, it's just ordered.
Or there's no way for them to do it here before they leave?
Not that I'm aware of.
They have to report anyway. Upon release, they have, I believe it's 48 hours or is it 24 hours to report anyway, Your Honor, so he can do it at that time.
All right. All right, please state your name.
Michael Anthony Ingerbretson.
All right, sir, you do qualify for a public defender. I'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. So, on the failure to return a hired leased vehicle, I'll find probable cause, I'll stay the bond at $1,500. On your failure to report, I'm going to set bond in the amount of $1,500, and I'm going to order that you report. Is it just any law enforcement? Is it just any sheriff's office, or where are they supposed to report?
To the sheriff.
Yeah,
The
when it's
sheriff,
ordered, it's
to the
usually
local
the
sheriff.
sheriff's office.
So I'm gonna require that you report to the sheriffs and update your information as required by law within 24 hours of your release. Please state your name.
John Evans.
All right, Mr. Evans. You do qualify for a public defender. I'm going to appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You've been charged of burglary of a structure, criminal mischief, grand theft, third degree. I do find probable cause. I'm going to stay the bonds. Count 1, 3,500. Count 2, 500. Count 3, 500. And I'm going to require that you not return to 6851 TPC Drive, Jerry Lee of California, Inc.
And no contact with the co-defendant, Your Honor. We saw him this morning.
Okay, and no contact with the co-defendant. Thank you. Please state your name.
Amber Farmer.
All right, Ms. Farmer, you do qualify for a public defender. I'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You've been charged with grand theft, third degree motor vehicle, and grand theft, third degree of a firearm. I'll stay the bonds at $2,500 each, and I'll require that you have no contact with the victim.
And I have a question. I did ask.
We asked Ms. George first.
There's another condition on a warrant, do not return.
It was a vehicle that she stole.
Your Honor, sorry, she does not want the public defender. Even though she filled out the form, she does not want the public defender.
Okay, all right, did you want to represent yourself, or are you gonna get private counsel?
Private counsel.
All right,
Your Honor, Ferguson is mental health.
all right, so, I do see that Dr. Danziger was appointed in the other case just on October 17th. So I'm sure that you haven't had a chance to, get that scheduled. But what I'll do is I'll revoke the bond on the 2022 MO 903AO, and maybe we can get and put it at none, and maybe we can get Dr. Danziger in here. So I'll appoint the PD on the new ones and stay the bonds at 1,500 and require no return to the Arena Food Store on North Westmoreland Drive. All right, please state your name. Mr. Kim, George. Please step forward and state your name.
Santra Green.
All right, Mr. Green, you do qualify for a public defender, so I'll appoint the office of the public defender to represent you. You've been charged with possession of a controlled substance with the intent, 1,000 feet of a school, possession of meth, ecstasy, MDMA, 2 different counts. All right,
Just give me a second. Your Honor.
so I'll stay the bonds.
Your Honor?
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Based on this affidavit, the only thing it keeps referencing is a supplement that we do not have at this time. The officer, it appears, is speaking for the other officer who actually saw what occurred, but we don't have anything based on this affidavit to prove that there's no facts. He wasn't there at the time. It just says, please refer to the other stated deputies' supplemental reports for any other information pertaining to the original report. Another officer observes an alleged hand-to-hand drug transaction, and then it appears this officer follows up, but he keeps making reference to that report, which we don't have.
All right, so you want 24 hours?
Only with regard to the intent, Your Honor, only because when he was arrested, the meth was found in his sock, and he was within 1,000 feet of a school. So it would only be the intent part that would be at issue.
Yes.
And considering that a hand-to-hand was observed, I believe officers can reference the observations of other officers, Your Honor, but if the court does not find probable cause based on referencing that it was a hand-to-hand and not just the report itself, yes, I would like 24 hours, Your Honor.
Yeah, I'll stay the bonds, but I want to recall it tomorrow for the supplement. I'd like to review the supplement because it may impact the bond amount.
Yes, Your Honor.
Reset, or stay the bonds and reset for tomorrow.
Your Honor, the bond, oh yeah. Yes, but she's gonna. Once we so she's staying until tomorrow. So if you don't post it, then we can bring you back and talk about that. It's on that.
Please step forward and state your name.
Tavis Henry Hamilton.
All right, Mr. Hamilton, you do qualify for a public defender. I'll appoint the office of the public defender to represent you. All right, you've been charged with burglary of a structure with assault, false imprisonment, battery, trespass on property after warning. As to count 1, State, do you have any recommendation as to bond?
Yes, Your Honor. Count 1 is a first-degree felony that is punishable by life. At this time, State would ask defendant be held no bond.
All right, I'll find no bond on count 1. I'll stay the bonds on count 2, 3,000, count 3, 500, count 4, 500. And I'll require no return to the 7-Eleven at 3,000 West Colonial Drive and no contact with the victim or the other witnesses. Please state your name.
Devontae Hunter.
All right, Mr. Hunter, you do qualify for a public defender. I'll appoint the office of the public defender to represent you. On the driving while licensed suspended case, the bond will be stayed at 500. On the possession of ammunition by a convicted felon, the bond will be stayed at 500. As to case number 2021 CT 2026 AW, I'm going to revoke the ROR and set bond in the amount of none. In case number 2022CT5624AO, I'm revoking the bond and setting it in none. In case number 2022MM6812AO, I'm revoking the bond, and for the resisting without violence, I'll set bond in the amount of 1,000. And I'm not certain, there's only one bond filed for the resisting, and then there's an ROR form, but I don't see any ROR order on the state misdemeanors. But I'll set bond, if it was ROR on the second count of that case, I'll set bond in the amount of 100.
Your Honor, can you repeat the amount for the felony, the bond amount for the felony, please?
5,000.
Thank you.
And then no bond on the 2 Dwillises, because he can't stop driving, and then 1,000 on the resisting and 100 on the state misdemeanors. All right, please step forward and state your name.
Lena Hurt.
All right, ma'am, you do qualify for a public defender. I'll appoint the office of the public defender to represent you. You've been charged with carrying a concealed firearm. I'll stay the bond in the amount of $2,500.
Your Honor, she has one question.
Yes.
What's your name?
I'm not, I'm from Wisconsin. From West Palm Beach. I was visiting here.
So you don't live here?
No, I do not.
All right, please follow the officer out the blue door. Please step forward and tell me your name.
Joshua Jewell.
All right, Mr. Jewell, you do qualify for a public defender. I don't know if one was already appointed to you in the case, but this is a failure to appear warrant, and the judge assigned to your case is set bond in the amount of $2,000, which I'll stay. And I want to remind you that you have an arraignment on December 1st at 8:30 in room 6D, courtroom 6D. So you do have a PD, so make sure you stay in contact with the attorney assigned to your case.
Change it. Don't talk about it.
No, I've already,
Oh.
I'm saying I already signed the plea,
Okay, I told you we can't pay felonies here.
but it can't get a sooner court date than December 1st.
Call the attorney. You have to speak with the attorney.
All right, please step forward and state your name.
Willie Johnson.
All right, Mr. Johnson, the PD has already been appointed in your underlying case. The judge has issued a warrant for your failure to appear and set bond in the amount of none. You're scheduled for an in-jail arraignment on December 1st. All right, please state your name.
Antoine Latson.
All right, sir, you do qualify for a public defender. I'm going to appoint the office of the public defender to represent you. Yes.
Just should have, make sure I have the right one, but,
You do.
okay. I was gonna argue no PC as to the possession with intent to sell. I don't see anything mentioned in the arrest affidavit about drugs, selling drugs, Your Honor.
He had cocaine in the fanny pack.
Right, but I don't see anything as far as the mentioning a huge amount of money, a huge amount of drugs. There's no scales. It just states they found it in his fanny pack.
Your Honor, I think there's more information out there. Because it says PC statement only, I think law enforcement has filed the wrong affidavit. If we could have the 24 hours, I believe I can get the correct one.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, I'll stay the bonds in the event he's able to bond, but otherwise we'll, do the, PC challenge tomorrow.
I believe he's out on bond as well, Your Honor. No, not really. Because he won't be able to bond until we address the out on bond. Did you guys file it? My system. Okay. Do you know when he was arrested?
July 18th.
Okay. Yeah, and Your Honor, he was arrested July 18th, and no information has been filed to date, so I would ask that you take no action on the out on bond.
I'll take no action on 2022 CF 8369AO.
You can bond for that.
Thank you.
Please state your name.
Gary Mahan.
Mr. Mahan, you do qualify for a public defender. I'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. KPS has been issued, so a judge has previously found probable cause. I'll stay the bonds, count one, $25,000, count two, $150, count three, $100.
Conditions, Your Honor?
What would you like? No return?
Yes.
No contact with the victim?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
Okay. How do I know who this
The name of the victim, he doesn't know who it is.
Can you do it?
Yep.
Okay.
I'll let him know without
Thank you.
it on the record.
Do you need, I got the affidavit here. Do you need me to look it up? No, he needs the name of the victim from the other case I just had. The one. Did you find it, Ms. George? Yes. Okay. Please state your name.
Douglas Lee Martin.
All right, Mr. Martin, you do qualify for a public defender. I'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. So this is by warrant. I'll stay the bonds, count one, $1,500, count two, $500, and I'll take no action on 2022 CF 8574AO. The rest was July 24th, and it hasn't been filed on yet. Please state your name.
Tyran Middlebrooks.
All right, sir. You do qualify for a public defender. I'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You've been charged with grand theft, third-degree motor vehicle, robbery, sudden snatching, battery, commit a felony, battery, false imprisonment. All right, on count two, it's set at no bond. Is that bond eligible?
Yes, Your Honor. It's a second-degree felony.
Okay, do you have any recommendation?
Your Honor, if you leave the first offense at 3,500, I have no objection to you treating count two as a subsidiary.
All right, so on count one, we'll stay the bond at $3,500, and counts two, three, and four, it'll be $500 each. No contact with the victim. And no return to the location. It was a hotel. Okay. All right, thank you. Please tell me your name. Mr. Mosby, you do qualify for a public defender. I'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You've been charged by a warrant, so a judge has previously found probable cause. I'll stay the bonds. Count one, $2,500. Count two, $1,000. Count three, $1,000. Please follow the officer out the blue door. There you go.
Your Honor, Nichols is behavior.
All right, I'll temporarily appoint the Office of the Public Defender, and I'll stay the bonds. I gotta look at the CF real quick.
Are you looking at the out on bond, Your Honor?
Yes.
It was filed, pretrial is set for November 30th. The first one, the possession of, that possession wasn't filed on, but the aggravated assault, possession of cocaine and the cannabis, that's what was filed on.
All right, I'll revoke the bonds and double them, so the possession of cannabis will be 500, the ag assault will be 20,000, and the possession of cocaine, 1,000.
Thank you.
You waiving?
Oh, I will waive, sorry.
Thank you. All right, please state your name.
Ramon Nonoa Allende.
All right, sir, you do qualify for a public defender. I'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You've been charged with possession of cocaine, possession of meth, possession of a controlled substance, and a possession of a prescription drug without a script. I'll stay the bonds, count 1, 1,000, count 2 and 3, 150 each, count 4, 100.
Memento, Your Honor, bonded.
Thank you.
Rosa is in the hospital.
If you'll temporarily appoint, Your Honor, I will waive the appearance.
All right, I'll temporarily appoint the Office of the Public Defender, and
sorry.
I'll stay the bond at,
Rosa has a bond pending alert.
I'm sorry, what?
Once her APHIS clears and she returns from the hospital, she has a bond already dropped off.
Yep.
I think
she
she's
stated.
posted bond.
Yes.
Posted it already, basically?
Well, she's
Once
got
the
two,
print's
she's
clear,
got
we can
two,
post it.
2 cases. She posted on both of them?
Yes.
But you still have to do stay the bond because it hasn't cleared, right?
Okay.
Well, the bond is already dropped off.
So we don't need to address
You don't
it?
have to address it.
Oh, okay. Because she already posted bond.
Okay.
Okay,
Also Scott bonded.
thank you. All right, please state your name.
Warren Sweat.
Say it again.
Warren Sweat.
Okay. You do qualify for a public defender. I'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You've been charged with possession of meth. I'll stay the bond at 1,000. What about these out on bonds? What have they been filed on?
No, Your Honor, the first one, 22 CF 12922, he was just arrested on the 4th, and I'm checking the rest right now, Your Honor.
Just on November 4th?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, I'll revoke that bond and double it.
22 CF 11303, he was arrested September 30th. And no formal charges have been filed yet.
All right, I'll take no action on 2022 CF 11303AO.
The third case is a city ordinance, Your Honor, so I'll have to take a look at that one, but it's a city.
And I'll revoke the ROR in 2022 CF 8419AO and set bond in the amount of 1,000. And I'll look up the MO.
In that case, Your Honor, the state, I don't see the state filing any charges as well. It looks like he was arrested July 19th, but no formal charges have been filed.
Okay, then I'll not revoke the ROR then. I'll leave that in place. The last one, the 2022 CF 8419.
And then you double bond 12922.
Yeah.
And they did file, Your Honor, on the city ordinance.
What's the amount of the bond on that one?
250.
How much? What?
250.
Okay.
So,
Oh, no, that's the arrest affidavit.
in 2022 CF 12922AO, the bond now will be $2,000 on the possession of meth.
Actually, I don't see any information. It's labeled as complaint filed. But it's
He just got arrested.
Right, it's just the affidavit.
Yeah, but it's because it's so close in proximity and the same charges, I'm revoking them and doubling them. And so, and on the possession of cocaine, it'll be $300.
That's the same.
Yeah, it's the same case, there's two counts. 2,000, count two, 300.
No, Your Honor, I was speaking about the open container.
Oh, I'm sorry, so it hasn't, there's no info on it yet?
Nope, it's just the affidavits. They haven't filed on it.
Okay, I won't take any action on the MOK, so let's go over it again. I'm staying the bond on the new law. On 2022 CF 12922AO, I'm revoking and doubling, so count one will be 2,000, count two will be 300. I'm taking no action on 2022 CF 11303AO because it hasn't been filed on yet. I'm taking no action on 2022 MO 1100AO because it hasn't been filed on yet. And I'm taking no action on 2022 CF 8419AO because it hasn't been filed on yet.
Yana Walters is mental health.
All right, I'll temporarily appoint the Office of the Public Defender and I'll stay the bonds.
And I will waive the appearance, Your Honor.
Thank you. Please state your name.
John White.
All right, Mr. White, you've been charged with possession of meth. Did you want to be represented by the Public Defender's Office?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, will you please raise your right hand to be sworn in? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give me is the truth?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. You can put your hand down. Do you have any dependents, sir? Do you have any dependents? Do you have a children, wife, anybody that you provide more than one half of their support for?
No, not right now.
Do you have any income
I have a job, Popeyes.
from time to time?
Yes, part-time.
Do you know about how much you make a month?
Well, it's, I'll say a good 400 or 500. I'm on part-time, so maybe like 500-600 a month.
About $500 a month? All right, you do qualify for a public defender. I'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. I'll stay the bond at 1,000.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. Please step forward and state your name.
Joshua Aaron Williams.
All right, Mr. Williams, you do qualify for a public defender. I'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. The judge in your case has issued warrants for your failure to appear and has set bond in the amount of $5,000 on count one, $2,000 on count two, and $1,000 on count three, which I'll stay those bonds. Please follow the officer out the blue door. Williams? All right, anything else we need to address?
No, Your Honor, nothing from the state.
All right, we're off the record. Please state your name, sir.
Anwar Guzman.
All right, sir, you do qualify for a public defender. I'm going to appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you, and it doesn't look like we have anybody here on the case. All right, sir, so you've been charged with false imprisonment, domestic violence, and resisting an officer without violence. I reviewed the arrest affidavit. I do find probable cause. I'm going to set bond in the amount of $1,500 on count one, $100 on count two. I'm going to require that you have no contact with the victim. I'm going to order that you maintain a separate residence. You may return one time in the presence of law enforcement officers to retrieve your personal belongings. I'm going to require that you not possess any weapons or firearms. If you have any weapons or firearms, you must turn them into the Orange County Sheriff's Office within 24 hours of your release from incarceration. Please follow the officer out the blue door.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, sir. All right, Mr. Paramore, you do not qualify, are you Mr. Paramore?
Yes.
You do not qualify for a public defender. Let me just verify that we checked the right box. You receive your pay every week?
Bi-weekly.
Oh, I mean, every 2 weeks, that's what's checked?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, you don't qualify. All right, sir, do we have anybody here? No. All right, so you've been charged with battery by strangulation, domestic violence, and battery domestic violence. And I do find probable cause. I'm gonna set bond in the amount of $1,500 on count one, $100 on count two. I'm gonna require that you have no contact with the alleged victim. In the arrest affidavit, it seems like the child was present, but I can't really tell if DCF is involved. I'm gonna order that you comply with any requirements that DCF imposes as far as parenting plans. I'm gonna allow you to return one time to the residence to retrieve personal belongings in the presence of law enforcement officers, but you do have to maintain a separate residence. I'm gonna order that you not possess any weapons or firearms. If you have any weapons or firearms, you must turn them in to the Orange County Sheriff's Office within 24 hours of your release from incarceration. All right, please follow the officer out the door.
Johnny Smith is medical.
Okay, I'll appoint the public defender. And so I had a question on this one, Ms. Eugene, you may know. The incident, all the incident arose as charged in the CF. And then there's a separate for resisting an officer without violence. And I know that there was 2 officers and it looked like he resisted both of them. And I was just confused why the felony didn't have 2 counts of resisting and why it was charged as a separate but that's, I mean, there's probable cause, but I was just confused on that charging.
Your Honor. Your Honor, I believe it was done separately because I think one was due to the arrest and then one was when they were trying to get them in the car. What Ms. George was about to argue is that he can only be charged with one of them, even if it's more than one officer, if it's the same event. He can only be charged with one. So what Ms. George was about to ask is if you would ROR him on one of the resisting withouts, Your Honor. So he has no objection.
All right, I'll ROR him on 2022 7739AO, the misdemeanor. And then there's the battery domestic violence misdemeanor was for warrant. So a judge previously found probable cause. And so I'll set bond in the amount of $1,500 in that one. And that you have no contact with the victim and no contact with the victim's sister, which is where the other events occurred. And that he maintain a separate residence, no weapons or firearms. He can return one time in the presence of law enforcement officers to retrieve personal belongings. And then in the felony case, I do find probable cause and I'll stay those bonds, and they were count 1, 1,000, count 2, 1,000, count 3, 500, count 4, 500. And again, the condition is no return to the sister's house where it occurred. Oh.
Johnny Wilkins is mental health.
Hold on, I gotta look up the out on bond case. I didn't have that one. There was a notice of non-filing in the CF, so I'm not gonna take any action on that one. Okay. All right, I'll provisionally appoint the Office of the Public Defender, and on count 1, I'll set bond in the amount of $1,500, count 2, $100, count 3, $100, and I'm gonna require there be no contact with the 2 victims, maintain a separate residence, may return one time in the presence of law enforcement officers to retrieve personal belongings. No weapons or firearms, must surrender to the Orange County Sheriffs within 24 hours of release from incarceration. I'm sorry, what?
I will wait.
Okay, thank you. Yes. All right, I'll appoint, is there anybody here on Chandler? Alright.
The victim is gonna be seen in second session under misdemeanor, and she advised she wanted contact with him.
She said she did want contact? Okay. All right, so I'll provisionally appoint the Office of the Public Defender. I'll order, no hostile contact, no weapons, no firearms. I am going to revoke the bonds in the 2022 CF 12092 AO and double them. So that would be on the leaving the scene of an accident, it would be 5,000. On the driving while license, HTO 5,000, and the DUI 1,000.
Your Honor, I apologize. What was the bond amount on the actual DV?
$1,500.
Thank you.
Please state your name.
Angel Garavito.
Does Mr. Garavito qualify? All right, sir, you do qualify for a public defender. I'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You've been charged with battery, domestic violence. Ma'am, if you'll please raise your right hand to be sworn in by the clerk.
Yes. Yes. Janice Paul.
All right, Ms. Eugene, you may inquire of the witness.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
How do you know the defendant?
I'm my boyfriend.
Do you live together?
Yes, ma'am.
While this case is pending, do you want to have contact with him?
Yes, ma'am.
You want to continue living together?
No, ma'am. I'm going back to my mom's house.
I'm sorry?
No, ma'am.
You do want contact, don't want to live together?
Yes.
Has something like this happened before?
No, ma'am.
Were drugs or alcohol involved in this incident?
No, ma'am.
All right, thank you for coming in. No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, so you want a separate residence, but you do want contact?
I believe.
You said you want a separate residence, but you still want contact?
Yeah, just for right now.
All right, and so, one more question. Mr. Garavito qualifies for participation in the pretrial release program. That's a program that's run by the Orange County Corrections Department, where he has to report in person on a regular basis and otherwise comply with the program. Would you have any objection to him participating in that program?
No, what's the program for?
It's a alternative to, monetary bond, and it's a way for defendants to be released and still have some supervision.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for coming in and testifying. I appreciate your time. All right, sir, you do qualify for participation in the pretrial release program. Would you like to be released today under that program as opposed to a monetary bond?
A monetary, what does that mean by monetary?
A dollar amount.
A dollar amount?
Yes, so it would be $1,500 or the pretrial release program.
So yeah, I'll do the pretrial.
All right, I'll order you to participate in the pretrial release program. I'm gonna require that you have no hostile contact with the victim. I'm going to order that you maintain a separate residence. You may return one time to the shared residence in the presence of law enforcement officers to retrieve your personal belongings. I'm gonna require that you not possess any weapons or firearms. If you have any, you must turn them into the Orange County Sheriff's Office within 24 hours of your release from incarceration. And I think you had a question. Did you want to ask Ms. George before you asked me?
You can say thank you. That's fine.
All right, thank you.
Please follow the officer out the blue door.
I'll take this.
Yes, sir.
The next defendant qualifies, the public defender.
All right, sir, please state your name.
Daniel L. Gonzalez.
All right, Mr. Gonzalez, you do qualify for a public defender. I'm going to appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. And did we have a witness on the Gonzalez case? All right, ma'am, if you'll please raise your right hand to be sworn in.
Yes. Jenny Elvira.
All right, Miss Eugene, you may inquire of Miss Elvira.
Thank you. Good morning, ma'am. Good morning. How do you know the defendant? He is my biological son. Do you live together? Yes. We lived together, but he was Baker acted and I had to take out an injunction. Okay, all right. So at this time you cannot live together? That is correct. Does the injunction also prohibit you from having any contact with the defendant, or is it just that you cannot live together? No contact at this time. Okay, all right. Are you afraid of the defendant? Yes, my son is a paranoid schizophrenic. He's off meds. I already contacted the Veterans Crisis Line. They're already setting up a housing referral for him. He hasn't owned his illness, and he needs to go back into the hospital. He's due for his monthly injection tomorrow, and they're aware of that already. They're already been contacting the VA Lake Nona.
Okay, and we do have a veteran service officer who routinely comes. I don't know, is he in the vet wing? Do we know? We don't know that. Okay. So if we can, I see he's flagged as a military veteran, and we do have VSOs here that can coordinate with Lake Nona to make sure that he gets his meds. And so he does qualify for PTR, but let's do the mental health PTR. Do we still have that here at the jail? No, doesn't exist.
They rarely qualify.
Oh, okay.
Which is why I would just, he already has a doctor he can go to. I'll have social services, also, speak with him. We do have the vet program to help him as well. But
I just want to make sure he gets that injection tomorrow.
if he does the mental health, they don't get released right away.
Right, Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you understand that you are supposed to have an appointment at Lake Nona tomorrow? Do you know that?
I paid on October 3rd, I paid my mother her rent. The next day, she called the cops on me. I don't know why. I was in the psych ward. University Behavioral Center. They didn't want to put me in the veterans section in there. Then I got discharged from there after a month. They sent me downtown to Terry Ave, the homeless shelter there. They didn't even have beds available. I thought I was getting sent back home. I don't understand why I can't go back home. I don't have.
All right,
homeless in
so,
the street.
sir, right now, there's an injunction in place. Another judge has signed an injunction that says you cannot return to the house and you can't have contact with your mom. And so I know you were on the street and you said you had nowhere else to go, but you can't go back there.
Okay, I understand that, but I need to get stuff from my house. They have my Zelle.
She'll give you a work permit.
All right, so
They have my debit card. They don't want to give me my debit card. I don't understand why she's giving me such a hard time.
all right, sir. So the judge who issued the injunction can make further arrangements for you to retrieve your belongings if that hasn't already occurred. It
But I
should
have
have
no place
occurred
to-
as part of the
sorry to interrupt,
injunction.
ma'am, but I have no place to put my stuff.
All right, so I'll release him under the PTR and just continue to follow up with the VA, ma'am, and all the requirements of the injunction stay in place.
Yes, thank you for understanding.
Thanks for coming in, I appreciate it.
Okay, yes, because he needs to understand, you know, that he threatened me. I became scared because he wasn't on his meds, and he threatened to rip my face off and take out the Jewish lady inside of me. While my son is under medication, you know, he does well because he does help the homeless. He bought a pair of shoes for an African American that was homeless. He brought a Caucasian male to my home to cut his hair. You know, so, you know, I don't want to, you know, I want him to get the, you know, he needs to own his illness.
Right, ma'am. Thank you very much for coming in. We appreciate your time. Yes. No, no contact, no return. No weapons or firearms. All right, I'll provisionally appoint the Office of the Public Defender. That would, the DV was by a warrant, so a judge previously found probable cause. Required the separate residence, no contact, return one time with law enforcement officers to retrieve personal belongings, no weapons, no firearms, $1,500. Surrender within 24 hours of release. Please state your name.
Marlon Pickering.
And let's see here. All right, Mr. Pickering, it says here, do you receive your income on a weekly basis? Was the correct box checked?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You do not qualify for a public defender, so I can't appoint one to represent you today. All right, ma'am, if you'll please raise your right hand to be sworn in.
Yes. Kiana Munson.
Ms. Eugene, you may inquire.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
How do you know the defendant?
He's my fiance.
Do you live together?
Yes, we do.
I'm sorry, I'm having a moment, I do apologize.
We live together. I have no fear.
I do apologize, I'm really so sorry.
Do you want to have contact?
Thank you. Do you want to, sorry. Do you want to have contact with him?
Yes.
Has something like this happened before?
No.
Were drugs or alcohol involved in this incident?
No.
Thank you so much. Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, ma'am, and you have, if anything like this ever happens again, you'll call 911?
Yes.
And, all right, and so you said you had no fear?
No fear.
All right, and Mr. Pickering, you do qualify for the pretrial release program. That's a program that's run by the Orange County Corrections Department, where you have to report in person on a regular basis and otherwise comply with the program. Would you like to be released under that program today?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, so I'll put you in pretrial release, and I'm gonna require, based on the testimony, I'm gonna require that you have no hostile contact with the victim and that you not possess any weapons or firearms. If you have any weapons or firearms, you must turn them into the Orange County Sheriff's Office within 24 hours of your release from incarceration.
I do not.
Okay, that's fine. Please follow the officer out the blue door. Thank you for coming in, ma'am. I appreciate your time.
Have a good one.
All right, please state your name.
Junior.
All right, Mr. Savage, you do qualify for a public defender. I'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You've been charged with violation of a domestic injunction. We don't have anybody here. I reviewed the affidavit. I do find probable cause. I'm going to set bond in the amount of $2,500. I'm going to require that you have no contact with the victim and otherwise comply with the domestic injunction violation. And I'm going to require that you not possess any weapons or firearms. I'm going to revoke the bond in 2022 MM 5069 AO. It's the same, it's another battery, same victim, and I'm going to set bond in the amount of none. Please follow the officer out the door.
Next defendant qualifies for the public defender.
Please state your name.
Jason Sledge.
All right, Mr. Sledge, you do qualify for a public defender. I'm going to appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. Ma'am, if you'll please raise your right hand to be sworn in.
Yes. Lauren Blue.
All right, Ms. Blue, thank you. Ms. Eugene, you may inquire.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
How do you know the defendant?
That's my fiance.
Do you live together?
Yes, we do.
While this case is pending, would you like to have contact with him?
Yes, the man went we homeless. I didn't eat. He didn't eat. The man went 4 days and let me eat. And while he starving for 4 days, I didn't first put him here. I said, I don't want to press no charge. I didn't write no statements or nothing. The police just put this man in jail. I'm not even in fear of him. He's not even a violent man. This man builds scaffold. He do work. He don't hit me. I'm not afraid of him at all. His boss man just called me in the morning wanting to know where's Mr. Sledge. This man does not, I'm going to be honest with you, with the court system today. This man do not beat me, and I do not wish to waste y'all time. He don't beat me at all.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
All right,
Thank you,
ma'am,
ma'am.
thank you very much for coming in. Mr. Sledge, I'm going to, I read the arrest affidavit and I see that the neighbor called 911. The video didn't show any striking. It showed Mr. Sledge blocking her on the path. But I'm going to set bond in the amount of $500. I'm going to require that you have no hostile contact with the victim, and I'm going to order that you not possess any weapons or firearms. If you have any, then I'm going to require that you turn them into the Orange County Sheriff's Office within 24 hours of your release from incarceration.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, sir, if you'll please follow the officer out the blue door. Thank you again for coming in, Ms. Blue. All right, sir, please state your name.
Jason Wilson.
All right, Mr. Wilson, you do qualify for a public defender. I'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you. You've been charged with battery, domestic violence, and violation of a domestic injunction. I do find probable cause, and I do see that you qualify for the pretrial release program. That's a program that's run by the Orange County Corrections Department, where you have to report in person on a regular basis and otherwise comply with the terms of the program.
Your
Would you
Honor?
like to, yes?
Over here. Your Honor, I have no objections to pretrial release, but I would ask that there be other conditions, a monetary bond also be placed. The defendant's last conviction was for violation of an injunction. He has other incidents against the same victim, so I would want other safeguards in place as well as PTR, Your Honor.
So PTR and a bond?
Yes, please, Your Honor.
All right, and Ms. George, do you want to say anything on that?
Your Honor, I would ask for pretrial release. In this case, he qualifies, and pretrial services will be able to monitor him. If we're gonna do a monetary bond, I would just ask for the monetary bond versus pretrial and a monetary bond.
All right, I'm gonna put him in the pretrial release program so that he has some supervision. I'm going to require that you have no contact with the victim, that you maintain a separate residence, that you otherwise comply with the requirements of the domestic violence injunction that's already in place, that you have no weapons or firearms. If you have any, you must surrender them to the Orange County Sheriff's Office within 24 hours of your release from incarceration. All right, the arrest affidavit indicate that the parties do share children, but they were not present at the time. However, if DCF is at all involved, I'm going to also require that you comply with any requirements that the department puts in place as far as parenting.
About time to get some of my stuff.
And Your Honor, we have a one-time return law enforcement to gather the things that he left at the home.
Yes, you may return to the shared residence one time in the presence of law enforcement officers. You have to coordinate it to retrieve your personal belongings. At your toothpaste, toothbrush, comb, brush, clothes. It's not the TV, it's not the couch, it's it's your personal belongings. Please state your name.
Sarah Green.
All right, Ms. Green, you're here from a warrant out of Polk County, and the judge in that case has set bond in the amount of none. So Polk County will be notified that you're here and they'll have the opportunity to come pick you up. Please follow the officer out the door. Please state your name.
Alexander Infante.
Mr. Infante, you're here on a warrant out of St. Johns County. The judge in that case has set bond on your warrants. Count one is $50,000 and each of the remaining counts is $10,000. So I'll stay those bonds and St. Johns County will be notified that you're here and have the opportunity to come pick you up if you can't make the bond. Please follow the officer out the door.
Nancy bonded, Your Honor.
Okay. Please state your name.
Powell.
Ms. Powell, you're here on a warrant from Seminole County. The judge in that case has set bond in the amount of none. Seminole County will be notified that you're here and have the opportunity to come pick you up.
Your Honor,
Please step forward and state your name.
Your Honor, he's gonna need an interpreter. He just said he needs Portuguese or Spanish.
Are you Mr. Rodriguez?
Wanderlei Rodriguez.
All right, we'll try Spanish.
Yes, my
Sometimes the Spanish
nombre es Wanderlei
interpreters
Rodriguez.
can't understand you.
En español yo hablo. No, inglés.
Good morning, Your Honor. This is Bresno Leon, certified Spanish.
You just went.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Gracias. Sí,
Oh,
sí,
I'm
gracias.
sorry. Good morning. The defendant has the headsets on. Just make sure, it's unclear if he needs Spanish or Portuguese. He said Spanish, but if you can just talk to him and make sure that you can understand him and he can understand you.
Allow me to check, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Sí. Hablo. Brasilero. Sí, sí, yo trabajé con argentinos en Brasil muchos años.
The defendant states that he is from Brazil. However, he worked with several individuals from Argentina, and therefore he understands Spanish very well.
All right, sir, you're here on a warrant from Miami-Dade County. And the judge in that case set bond in the amount of none. The county will be notified that you are here and have the opportunity to pick you up.
Your Honor, can you advise the defendant he has an immigration hold?
And in addition to the Miami-Dade County warrant, you also have an immigration hold. All right, please follow the officer out the blue door. All right, thank you, interpreter. That's the last
Your-
case. Oh, you need the case
Honor-
number?
Yes, please. Thank you.
Well, it's not an Orange County case, but I can give you the booking number.
Thank you, Your Honor.
22026889.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. You have a wonderful day.
You too, thank you.
Good morning, Your Honor.
Good morning. Please state your name.
Sean Seagram.
All right, Mr. Seagram, you're here for a warrant from Seminole County. The judge in Seminole County has set bond in the amount of $500. So, I'll also, Seminole County will be notified that you're here and they'll have the opportunity to pick you up.
Your Honor, he,
When the offense actually occurred. We ask that you take no action on the out on bonds for out-of-county warrants.
No objection, Your Honor.
All right, I'll take no action on 2022 CF 8221AO.
Your Honor, Walker went to Pasco County, COT.
Okay. We didn't have that one, but that's okay. Please state your name.
Girl Brody, ma'am.
All right, Mr. Brody, you're here on a warrant signed by a judge for a violation of probation. and the judge in that case set the amount of no bond, and you're set for an arraignment on 12/1, and it does not? Yeah, weekly? All right, so you do not, did you have the public defender in the case below or a private attorney? You had a public defender? Did your financial situation change in between the, because on this affidavit, do you get paid weekly?
Yes, ma'am. I work, I have a job.
Is it close or, because he had the PD below? All right,
Your Honor, the only argument that I would make is that, he's not gonna be able to work while he's being held here on a no bond status while he's being held on no bond.
Yeah, I'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender for the violation of probation, and it's set for an arraignment on 12/1. All right, please step forward and state your name.
Bernard Brown.
I have Heron next. I don't have that paper. Brown? All right, Mr. Brown, this was a warrant signed by a judge who put the bond in the amount of none. You're set for an in-jail arraignment on 12/1. And does he qualify for a PD?
He does.
And you do qualify for a public defender. Would you like the Office of the Public Defender to represent you in the violation of probation action? All right, I'll appoint them. Please step forward and state your name.
Lance Heron, Your Honor. Good morning.
Good morning. Mr. Herron, you're here for a violation of probation warrant issued by a judge who set the amount of bond in none. You are set for an in-jail arraignment on 12/1, and do you want the Public Defender's Office to represent you in the violation of probation?
Yes, ma'am. I already spoke to my former one.
All right, I'll appoint them to represent you in the VOP proceeding.
Thank you.
Please follow the officer out the door. Please step forward and state your name.
Your Honor, James is medical.
Okay, I'll appoint the public defender to represent him in the VOP. The judge put no bond. He's set for an in-jail arraignment on 12/1. Thank you. Please state your name.
Roberto? Roberto?
All right, Ms. Sanchez?
Sanchez Rivera.
All right, Mr. Sanchez, you're here for a violation of probation warrant signed by the judge who set bond in the amount of none. You're set for an in-jail arraignment on 12/1.
But it's the same amount, the 600.
All right, and I'll appoint you want the public defender to represent you in the VOP?
I got attorney already.
It's, yeah, in the case below, but for the VOP, I have to separately appoint them. Do you want them to continue to represent you?
I already pay attorney.
Oh, you have a private attorney? Yes. Okay, all right, so I'm not appointing a private attorney. Okay, thank you. Please tell me your name.
Batavia Shepherd.
All right, Mr. Shepherd, you're here for a violation of probation. The judge issued the warrant and set bond in the amount of $1,000. If you're unable to make bond, you're scheduled for an in-jail arraignment on 12/1. Do you qualify?
He does.
And you do qualify for a public defender. Do you want them to represent you in the VOP?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I'll appoint the public defender.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, sir. State your name.
Derek Sperling.
All right, Mr. Sperling, you're here for violations of probation based on a new law offense on 11/16. I saw that you had a private attorney in the main cases, but you do qualify for a public defender. Would you like the public defender's office to represent you on the VOPs?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I'll appoint the Office of the Public Defender to represent you on the violation of probations. And I'm gonna set bond and do none on the VOPs. And it'll be set for in-jail arraignment, 12/1.
And then all the other charges you're seeing as already said.
There's
Oh, I thought it was just the on-view VOP.
6 VOPs.
I'm sorry, hold on.
Two different cases.
So we'll appoint the, I completely misunderstood that. So, well, I'll appoint the PD and the VOPs, and so those are on view, and I set it at none. But then he has the new law violation, the burglary of a structure, criminal mischief, grand theft, third degree. I'll stay the bonds, and the possession of meth, I'll stay the bond.
Your Honor, with regard to the felony, if it could be a no return and no contact with co-defendant?
Okay, no return, and I don't see the co-defendant here.
That's on the 13362.
Yes.
I'm looking for it. Who is the co-defendant?
John Allen Evans.
Okay, and no contact with Mr. Evans. That's the 13362, no contact with the co-defendant, no return.
And Your Honor, I believe you said that for the new cases, he has private counsel. You are only appointing public defender on the,
No, I'll appoint the PD in the new case. On the VOP case, the underlying case, he had private counsel.
okay.
They're on view, and what happens is there's no affidavit filed, so no one took the attorney out. So do you want me to put the PD on the on view cases as well?
Yes.
We'll just have to take the old.
Yeah, put the PD on there.
Okay, thank you.
All right, is there anything else that we need to address? Counsel, what case are you here on?
It's on the afternoon docket. I just wasn't sure whether or not the morning and afternoon dockets would be run back to back, or if the afternoon docket would be just.
Let's see, it's almost 10 o'clock now. How much time do y'all need before we can start the afternoon? Do you need an hour or you need more? Can we start at 11? 11? All right, we'll do the afternoon doc. Does that work for you all? Clerks, does that work for you? 1 hour? All right, so we'll start the afternoon session at 11.
Okay.
All right, Florida versus Gill, 2022 CF 11415.
Granted, notice of non-filing.
Oh, I don't have an order on that one. Florida versus Schaefer, 22 CF 8171AO.
Denied, information was filed.
Florida versus Padilla, 22 CF 11951AO.
Granted, case was no billed.
22 CF 11988AO, Florida versus Welch.
Denied, information was filed.
Florida versus Donut, 22 CF 12083AO.
Your Honor, can you tell me the date that's listed on the order?
1118.
Then, as of right now, it's fine, since it's stated for tomorrow.
All right, well, you want to just roll that one to tomorrow?
Yes, if we could, please, Your Honor.
Okay. Florida versus Lassard, 22 MM 6956AO.
Denied, information was filed.
Florida versus Dort, 22 CF 12241AO.
Denied, information was filed.
Florida versus Melik, 22 CF 12059AO.
Granted, notice of non-filing.
Florida versus Malia, 22 CF 10032AO.
Granted, notice of non-filing.
Florida versus Morales, 22 CF 12140AO.
Denied, information was filed.
Florida versus Johnson, 22 CF 12131AO.
Granted, case was no billed.
Florida versus Lemon, 22 CF 11817AO.
Denied, information was filed.
Florida versus Marshall, 22 CF 12042AO.
Granted, notice of non-filing.
Florida versus Bell, 22 CF 11964AO.
Granted, notice of non-filing.
Florida versus Home, 22 CF 11618AO.
Granted, notice of non-filing.
Florida versus Gaston, 22 CF 12146 AO.
Denied, information was filed.
And then we'll do Donut tomorrow, and then if you want to just bring the order for Gill back, oh, you got it, never mind, we got the Gill. So Florida versus Gill, 22 CF 11415 AO.
Want me to order you?
Granted, notice of non-filing.
All right, and then we got Florida versus Ortiz, 22 CF 12040 AO.
Granted, notice of non-filing.
Florida, oh, there's two of them?
Yes, both granted, Your Honor.
Okay. And then Florida versus Smith, 22 MM 6995 AO.
Granted, case was no billed.
All right, I think that is it then. We're off the record.